Rise of the Resistance has been melting minds since it opened at Disney's Hollywood Studios and Disneyland. Many are calling it the greatest theme park attraction in the world, including yours truly, but riding it can be more challenging than explaining why Emperor Palpatine is back in Rise of Skywalker. If you thought you could just stroll into the park, jump in line, and wait to ride like any other attraction up to this point in history, you'd be sorely mistaken. As of right now, the only way to go on Rise of the Resistance is to join the virtual queue, also known as boarding groups. Once your boarding group is called, you can head to the ride and join the line. If you don't get a boarding group, well, you can always console yourself with a Ronto wrap. Because demand for this attraction is so high, many days it takes under a minute for initial boarding groups to run out, and backup boarding groups can run out within minutes. So today we're giving you our best tips to increase your chances of getting an early boarding group for Rise of the Resistance at Disneyland and Disney World. While your mileage may vary, so far we've personally had a 100% success rate of getting on Rise of the Resistance when we use these tips. And don't worry, there will be no spoilers for Rise of the Resistance in this video. 1. Get your Disney app prepped before going to the park. While you technically can get a physical boarding pass at a kiosk, don't do this. Your best chance of getting in a boarding group is through the Disney World or Disneyland app, depending on which park you're visiting. Make sure you've downloaded the most up-to-date version of the app, signed into your Disney account, and linked all the tickets in your party before you head to the park. This will make sure you don't need to waste any valuable time downloading updates or recovering passwords when you're in the park. 2. Get to the park early, but not crazy early. At both Disneyland and at Disney's Hollywood Studios, boarding groups become available exactly at the scheduled park's opening, so pay attention to the park's schedule for that day. If the park is listed to open at 8 a.m., everyone in your party who wants to ride Rise of the Resistance needs to have scanned their ticket at that park before 8 a.m. However, there's not a huge advantage to arriving extremely early. If the park opens at 8, someone who gets to the park at 4 a.m. has the same shot as someone who gets in the park at 7:59 a.m. You don't need to go too crazy getting up well before the crack of dawn like I did the first time I went on the ride. I'd recommend trying to get to the park at least 30 minutes before opening. Be sure to account time for parking, transportation, security, and any line to get into the park, because those can be lengthy on busy days. Wi-Fi or cellular? Test your connection. A fast connection is really important to getting your boarding pass. Your connection speed can depend on many different factors, like if you're in a congested area or close to a router. For example, one day I had great luck on Disneyland's Wi-Fi, which was 10 times faster than my AT&T connection. On my very next visit, the opposite was true. So I used an app called Speed Test in order to see which one worked better for me. So my tip for this is use Speed Test to decide whether park Wi-Fi or your cellular connection will be faster. 4. Don't stand in a really crowded area. With so many devices competing for bandwidth, standing in a really crowded area can cause interference, which will slow your connection. So standing in the front of Main Street or right by the turnstiles at Hollywood Studios is a bad idea for this very reason. Once you've scanned into the park, try to find a less crowded area to hang out in. You can technically leave the park and still sign up right at park opening from anywhere if your ticket has already been scanned. 5. Open the app 2 to 3 minutes before park opening and keep it open. In my personal experience, both the Disney World and Disneyland apps are pretty bad about keeping me always logged in. It can take a few seconds for the login prompt to load, and then to log in, and then for the Star Wars, Rise of the Resistance, Access by Boarding Group box to load. The app can also sometimes crash upon launch. Don't worry about getting logged out or having the app crash by opening the app about 2 to 3 minutes before the park opens. That should give you plenty of time to troubleshoot any issues you might run into by logging out and logging back in or hard relaunching the app. 6. Be ready to press join a boarding group at exactly park opening. Now that you have your app open, pay attention to the clock. As soon as the time switches to the published park opening, you'll want to press the join a boarding group button as soon as possible. It will be grayed out until it's available. There are a few ways to do it, but these 2 ways are our favorites. On the main page, click Find Out More in the Rise of the Resistance info box the instant the clock changes to park opening. In this example, park opening was at 9 a.m. So as soon as I saw the clock switch from 8:59 to 9, I tapped Find Out More. From there, I clicked Join a Boarding Group as soon as I saw it turn red. You can also start on the Rise of the Resistance status page. Once the clock hits park opening, click My Status. On this page, you can click the Join a Boarding Group button. If the Join a Boarding Group button is still grayed out, try tapping the back button and clicking the Find Out More or My Status buttons again to reload until you see the clickable Join a Boarding Group button. 7. On the Create Your Party page, only select people in the park. If you select tickets that aren't in the park, you'll run into an error. You can easily fix this by unselecting the person in your party who isn't there, but by then, you'll have wasted valuable seconds that could mean the difference between Group 15 and Group 115. The Disneyland and Disney World apps have distinct differences on how you create a party. For Disneyland, all linked tickets are selected by default. If you have any tickets linked for people who won't be in the park by opening, delete them from your app. You can always relink them later. For Disney World, only your ticket is selected by default, so you'll have to tap each name to add them to your party. If everyone is with you, then you can tap the Select All button at the top. 8. Have multiple people trying at the same time. There's no downside to having multiple people try to join a boarding group at the same time. In fact, this should increase your chances, since someone in your party might have a faster phone or faster reflexes. 9. Practice at home. While you can't join a boarding group without going to the park, you can get acquainted with the flow of the app at any time, even after boarding groups have run out. So download the app and do a test run at home. Just knowing where the different buttons are can create muscle memory that might give you a slight edge to getting on this ride in Galaxy's Edge. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. But I hope these tips can help yourself when you rise with the Resistance. If you found these tips helpful, be sure to like this video and subscribe to Guide to WDW for more Disneyland and Disney World tips, tricks, and videos. And do you have any expert tips on how to ride Rise of the Resistance? Let me know in the comments below. I want to hear from you. Next time you're in the park, good luck getting a boarding group, and may the Force be with you.